The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by Tenant Controls, makers of lighting kits, soundboards, and more. Tenant Controls brings your models to life. And by HDA Model Works, suppliers of scale model lighting products, detail parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today. Hi there again, everybody. Boyd here with you. Well, this video is an introduction to my 1/350 scale Battleship Bismarck build. I'm not going to be doing a complete video build series on this one. Just want to mention that right off the bat, but I'm going to be showing you guys some little tidbits of the build as it goes along here. It's going to take me quite a while to get this thing put together. But as you saw in the opening graphic there, we have the Revell Germany kit. I got a really great deal on this on eBay. It came with all these accessory parts that have been gathered up by whoever the owner was there, and I got a really sweet deal. I got the kit and all this stuff here for 125 bucks, and I think it was like 20 bucks to ship it. So the kit itself usually sells for around $90 or so, so I think we got about 200 bucks worth of stuff here extra with this kit, so I'm really happy. And it saved me the trouble of tracking all this stuff down too, which, you know, I'm not an experienced shipbuilder, and I think this guy did his research and gathered up all the really good stuff for this kit. So I wanted to show you what we've got here. I've already started to do a little bit of work on the model, and we'll show you what we've got done on that in just a second here, and the research I've been doing on it to get it accurate and all that. I want to build the ship as it looked on May 24th, 1941, the date of the historic battle with the Royal Navy's HMS Hood, which I'll be building the Hood maybe a little later this year, depending on how long it takes me to build this one. Might be next year, we'll see. But let's take a look at some of this stuff here, guys. It's really cool stuff. Up here at the top, we have a decal set made by Bismarck, which has these different flags and waterline markings that don't come with the kit. Now, I won't be using many of these, unfortunately, because I'm building my model as it looked while it was at sea, and while they were at sea, they only displayed one little flag at the very top of the main mast. You know, when they were in port and things like that, they would have all the color flags on display, you know, showing which battle group they were with, awards that they received, you know, things like that, the symbol of the admiral that was on board, all that kind of stuff. But it's nice to have that, and I can always use that for something else later on. Here we have, from G Factor Models, we have some brass propellers, which are beautiful. And then over here we have the Kriegsmarine German Navy World War II painting set, which these are the actual authentic colors that we saw in World War II German battleships and heavy cruisers and things like that. This is put out by a company called Life Color. They're acrylics. I've been working with them, and they're just really awesome to work with. They're beautiful, you know, water-based. They spray down really nice. Now on the back of the box here, they have the information about, depending on which version of the Bismarck you're going to build. We have early war and pre-war, and then we have the Baltic Sea version. Now, I'll talk about this a little bit more. There's a website I've been using for reference material. We're going with the early war and pre-war look because that's how it appeared when it had the battle with the HMS Hood. Baltic Sea version, which you see most commonly built with all that camouflage and the swastikas on it and all that, was earlier on in its career. So, but they give you the correct colors here for the upper superstructure, the lower hull colors, and the anti-fouling red there at the bottom, and the dark sea gray that we use for the tops of the detail of the turrets and everything, and some of the stuff on the deck. So I've been following along with that, and it's been working out great. Here we have this gorgeous simulated wood decking from a company called MK1. They're out of Korea, I believe. And I haven't worked with a lot of this stuff, but all I've got to say is this just worked out fantastic. What I've been told is the quality that you see the differences in some of these wood decking kits is the texture of the wood, which is beautiful on this, and also how good they did the laser cutting. Now I had no trouble at all. Just took a little number 11 hobby knife and just picked on the corner, and the whole piece just comes right off with no effort. You might have to do a tiny little cut where they have a little tab or something on there, but that's it. And it has some really sticky backing material on it. You know, it's got a clear sheet of film over it. You remove that once you've got it all cut out and everything, and apply it on the deck. And I'll talk about that here in a little bit more when I show you the work I've done on the model in just a second. And it worked out fantastic, so I really love that. Over here we have the awesome full set of Eduard photo etch. We all know that Eduard is top quality. They've been around for a long time, and I've been using that. We have the set here for the main detail work on this ship, all the superstructure, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then we have this one that's an extra set for the Bismarck's railings and turret detail and all the secondary guns and all that. So this is a full set. I'll probably be using about 85 to 90% of the photo etch on the model. I'm not going to use all of it. Some of it's just super, super tiny and insanely small, and you wouldn't even really be able to see it that well, so I'm not going to worry about that. But all the railing, all the detail on the guns, the superstructure, you know, all that kind of stuff, we're going to be using all that, all the stuff on the decks and the stuff for the little boats, you know, the long boats and the Arado airplane that was on there, the seaplane and everything. We'll use all that, so that'll be pretty cool. Now, working with it so far, it's typical of like most photo etch stuff. The instructions are, you know, they're okay, as what I could say about them. I mean, sometimes you can see like perfectly clear where you're supposed to, you know, how you shape something and where it goes, and other times you get a kind of vague view of it. You got to kind of figure it out, but, you know, like I said, that's nothing new. That's typical on all photo etch stuff, but Eduard is, you know, the parts themselves are top quality. Then here we have this little set. Let me see who this is from here. This is North Star Models. This is a little life raft set, detail set for the ship. You have all these little square life rafts that go on it all over the place, on the decks and everything. And you have the resin parts here for the actual body of the rafts, and then here you have the netting part kind of in the center, done in photo etch detail, so that'll be nice to add that on there and bring some more detail to it. Here we have the brass gun barrels for the main turrets, the 15-inch guns. And these are by B&D Barrels, which is one of the well-known brands out there. You can see a couple of them are already gone. Here there should be 8. I've already put 4 of them. I built 2 of the turrets on the model already. We'll show you that in a little bit. But I love those. Those are just gorgeous. They look totally real. And then we've got these nice little kits here from Veteran Models for some extra detail. We have up here at the left, we have the searchlight set, which gives you super detailing on all the main searchlights on the ship with some resin and photo etch parts. We're going to be doing some lighting on some of those searchlights. I'm going to be doing a lot of lighting on this model. Here we have some 20mm flak detailing. They give you the blast shields and some other stuff on there, and the actual guns themselves made out of resin that are a lot nicer looking than the ones that came in the kit. And then we have this observation equipment set, which is consists of a observation periscope, 2 of them, a binocular platform, and a compass platform, and a target giver platform, which will go up around the bridge and stuff like that. So that'll be nice with some photo etch stuff. And then a fire control set, which they used this for aiming all the main and secondary armament, which gives some nice extra detail. Really nice. And then finally we have this little set of aftermarket swastika decals that are correct for the 1/350 scale kit. Now I won't be using these. I'll explain why when I get to the secondary part here of the video and I show you what I'm doing on the detail work of the Bismarck. You know, 99% of the Bismarck builds you'll see out there have the swastikas laid down on the deck. But looking at this website, it's supposed to be the most you know, accurate research website out there on the Bismarck. The gentleman who runs it's well known around, you know, the model building and shipbuilding community, and he's done a ton of research. The way she appeared on May 24th in her battle against the Hood, those had been painted over in a dark gray. Maybe they didn't want to be seen or something like that from the air. So there's some different theories behind that, but he's done a lot of research. But I can always use those on something else later on, who knows. It's nice to have them anyway. But you can see we've got a lot of cool stuff that came with this. I'm thinking there's probably at least maybe $200 worth of stuff that came with this kit. And so, getting the whole thing for 125, like I said, the kit usually goes for around, $90 all by itself. So every once in a while, even a blind squirrel can find an acorn, like they say. We got a pretty good deal. That's still possible every once in a while on eBay. So I'm really happy with that. I hope you enjoyed seeing this, and we'll show you little tidbits as we go along on the video build here, some of this stuff and how it works out and everything. But this is not going to be a comprehensive build series. There's another fella out there, Aussie Trekkie, who's doing a really in-depth build series on an exact same model. So I'll talk about that here in the second part. So that's it for the parts, guys. We'll come back in just a second and show you the actual model itself and the work I've been doing on it so far and what our build plan is. Be right back. Okay, everybody, well, here we are with a look at the model itself. This is the Revell Germany 1/350 scale kit. You can see it's quite large. It's about 3 feet long. I have to be backed up pretty far here to get it all in the picture for you. And I'm really happy with the kit. The quality of it seems to be really nice. And talking to some of my modeling buddies around the community, they seem to feel like, they build a lot of these ships, and they feel like that the Revell is a little bit more detailed and more accurate than the Tamiya kit, and the detail on it's a little bit more crisp, so this is one we went with. And then, of course, I couldn't beat that package deal either, finding this kit with all that stuff with it for that price. I was really happy. So the kit's been going together really well. Some of you guys that may have built it may notice here right off the bat that it's sitting up on this little display stand a little higher than it normally does. And I modified that because the ship is really wide in the center, and they had it sitting right down flat on top of this display base. And when you had it like that, it pretty much blocked that entire nice logo that they give you with this that says German Battleship Bismarck. You couldn't hardly see it, and I wanted to be able to see that, so I made some 3/4 inch extensions and glued them on to the top of the base there. I'll just pick it up real quick and show you what I did there. Just made some little basic pedestals, and I'm going to put some felt on the top of those so it'll be a little bit more sticky, and it won't scratch the hull when I take it on and off whenever I want to show it to somebody or whatever. So we'll get that fixed up down the road. I'm also doing a little bit of weathering on this base itself here with that Tamiya metallizer stuff, and I'm just giving it a kind of an old rustic metal look. I'm not quite done with that yet, but you'll see that a little bit further down the road. That's coming out pretty nice. Now on the side of the hull here, I did my paint work doing the camouflage job and the basic paint scheme on this ship, and I wanted to do it the way it appeared on May 24th, 1941. That's the day that it had the famous battle with the Royal Navy's HMS Hood that so many of us read and heard about when we were kids. It's a famous sea battle, actually one of the very few actual battleship on battleship battles that we saw in World War II. And so we know that the Bismarck wound up winning that battle. It got a lucky shot in and hit the hood in the magazine, and the hood blew up and split in half and sank, and out of almost 2,000 crew members, only 3 people survived. So it was a catastrophic loss for the Royal Navy, and it just inspired them to hunt the Bismarck down, as in the famous song and the movie. And they had to sink it after that. So but this is the way it appeared. I'm not going to do any weathering on this model at all. It's going to be a kind of a museum type display. Not only that, but the ship was brand new, basically. It had done a 3-month training cruise out in the Baltic Sea in the early part of 1941, and it returned to Norway on May 21st. They did some quick paint work on it, got everything ready, and then they set off for what they called Operation Rhine. They were going to pair up with the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen. They were going to try to break out into the Atlantic Ocean and do commerce convoy raids. They didn't want to engage the British Navy directly. They just wanted to sink as many convoy ships as they could. And it was all about being stealthy and getting out there. They didn't want to be found, and unfortunately for them, they were found by some aerial reconnaissance planes, and then the hunt was on. But I'm going to show you this website up here that I've been using for reference. It's run by a fellow named John Asmussen. Now he's regarded around the model ship community and the historic ship community as being kind of the preeminent authority on the history of the battleship Bismarck and several of the German ships. And he's got this great website here with all these reference photos and some schematics and drawings of the Bismarck as appeared in its different forms. I'm going to scroll up to the top of the page here for you. Let's get backed up a little bit here. and show you that this is how the Bismarck appeared, which is the way you see it painted most often by most modelers. And this is the way it appeared during its Baltic Sea training session in the early part, right after it left its home port, which unfortunately never returned to. They, were sunk on their maiden voyage, basically, just a few months later. And but you can see we have this camouflage paintwork here. We have the dark gray, sea gray there at the very stern above the waterline with that simulated wake there at the tail. Same thing at the bow. And then we have that camouflage pattern that runs up on the sides, and that actually ran all the way up onto the superstructure, into the smokestack and onto the Admiral's Bridge. And then you have the swastikas on the deck with the white circles around them. By that time they had removed the red banners that were painted on there next to them. Those were just there for when, I believe when Hitler visited the ship at some point earlier on, they wanted it to look all pretty and everything, and they wanted to impress Hitler with the big swastikas and all that. So that was changed at some point. Now scrolling down a little bit further here, we see how it looked. We have the pictures of the ship here arriving in Norway on May 21st, 1941. That would be just a few days before its encounter with the HMS Hood. In this shot here, you can still see the white circle at the stern and at the bow of where the swastikas were. And then in this shot here, you can obviously see the dark gray on top of the turrets, the main 15-inch guns, and then the secondary 5.5 inchers. And this is a picture of the ship just about ready to dock at the fjord in Norway, where they did a quick paint job on it and some last-minute adjustments and all that. And a day or two later, they set out on Operation Rhine, met up with the Prince Eugen, and tried to break out. And so that's how it looked at that point. Now, John's done the research here, and this is how the ship appeared in its when it sailed on, when it met with the Hood on May 24th. You can see they made some changes here. You've got the camo's been painted over on the sides of the hull. The dark gray has been removed at the stern. You still have the forward simulated wake there, part of that at the, at the bow. But the swastikas have been painted over on the deck with some dark sea gray. We have the dark gray on the top of the turrets, primary and secondary. So there's a couple little changes there. So this is how I'm painting mine. Now people are going to say, well, the swastikas should be on the ship. Well, the research that John did, reading all this stuff, was that interviewing some of the original surviving Bismarck crew members, and also more importantly some of the British aviators who actually attacked the ship in the Swordfish torpedo planes, who had the best view, they said that there were no swastikas present on it. And the theory behind that might be that the Germans knew that there were going to be aerial search planes, looking for them, and they were actually going to be going into real combat. So, might not be a good idea to have huge swastikas, on the top of the deck. They'd immediately give it away and say, kind of, bomb me here, kind of thing. I always thought that was kind of strange, that and the Japanese ships that have the big red rising suns on the deck as well, too. It's kind of a big target that just sticks right out and immediately gives them away. But some interesting stuff there. And so again, we're going to be, try to stay historically accurate on this. So this is the way I'm going with mine. And so you can see I've been doing that work here. I've got the dark sea gray painted over on the forepeak here and at the stern where the swastikas were. We have our camo work here on the sides that match up with that. There's actually some really dark green that's right next to these little dashes right here that you can't really see too well, but it was there. Another interesting fact I found out is that that waterline stripe all the way around the side is not black like most people paint it. It's on German ships, they did that in a really, really dark blue, almost black. It's like a midnight blue, but that's what we went ahead and did on this. So we're trying to, kind of follow history with some of that stuff and keep it accurate. And up here, you can see we started doing some work on the deck. I started working at the very front and working my way back. We've got the auxiliary anchor chain there at the bow. I don't have the auxiliary anchor put on yet because we don't have the hull glued, or the deck glued down to the hull or anything. But I'll be working on all those as we go, and got to put on all the railing and everything. I'll be doing that towards the end because we're going to be reaching around the model a lot, putting all the superstructure on, and all the photo etch and all that. Here we have the anchor chains. We have the main anchors. We have the little capstans here, which I really like this detail that they did on these German ships. You can see they have green on the starboard and red on the port. with a sort of candy cane paint scheme there on the spokes of that thing. So that's a nice little detail, and it really pops on the ship. You know, it kind of stands out, so we captured that. We've got the forward breakwater installed there. We've got the first turret and the second turret. Now the Germans would name all the turrets on these ships. You know, they would, you know, normally it's A, B, C, and D, or depending on how many turrets they had. But here we have the first one is A. They called it Anton. The second one, Bruno, for B. Then on back here to the stern, they had Caesar for C, and finally Dora for D there at the very stern. So interesting stuff I found out about that too. But we've got some photo etch details on here. We've got the beautiful brass gun barrels from B&D, which those are just worth every penny. You can see how much nicer they look than the plastic ones. They're just gorgeous. I've got some small little details to put on this yet. Some skylight covers, some walkways and open hatches and things, all, you know, all in photo etch. And so we'll be putting those on as we work our way back. There's I do have the ladders put on these. I do have the rangefinder detail set in photo etch done on that, and I have the shell ejection hatches on the back in photo etch. So that's looking really nice. And you know, like I said, I'm probably gonna use about 85% or so of the photo etch. Not every single piece. Some of it's just too tiny. It's just insane. You know, my eyes are not that good anymore. They're pretty good still, especially with the magnifying glasses, but some of that stuff I looked at and said there's just no way. So we're going to do all the detail on the superstructure and of course all the rigging and everything and the railing and all that, and it's still going to come out really, really nice. But we're also going to be doing lighting on this. I'll talk about that in a second, but here you can see that beautiful decking that we put down on this from MK1. You know, we showed you that in the little layout of the parts, and I gotta say, guys, this stuff is fantastic. I know there's a bunch of different companies out there, and I've only worked with this for the first time, so I can't say, you know, who has the best stuff, but all I can say about this stuff is I'm really impressed with the quality of it. It looks very realistic. The decking on the Bismarck here was sort of a bright color like this, not too dark. So they've got that simulated planking on there looking just gorgeous. And it laid down on there fantastic. It's got some really, really sticky backing on it. And just working with it, I was like, wow, it's, you know, it's like fly paper type sticky. So I squirted a little bit of water from my water bottle on the back side of it before I laid it down, so I'd have a little bit of wiggle room to move it around and work with it a little bit, and not have it stick down right away. And then I was afraid if I, you know, did that, I'd maybe rip it or something trying to bring it back up. So I got that down on there, and then I used this little tool here. This is a sort of a putty spoon, but you can see it's got that really smooth back edge, and I just went down in these little areas that are close to things where it didn't want to lay down totally flat, and just worked my way around, just kind of rubbing on it. And in a matter of a few minutes, I had it all laying down nice and flat. It came out beautiful. And it's in 3 sections. You have the forepeak area, which extends to about right here. Then you have the middle, and then you have the rear. They even included a little bit of a gap in there where the ship's expansion joints are. You know, they have these little flexible joints in all large ships so that the ship can handle really rough seas and not break in half. The Titanic had those as well. So we've got all that on there. I let it dry for maybe about a half an hour or so. Then I just lightly went over it with my heat gun, and that just made it all suck right down on there and stick and, you know, lay down perfectly flat. And I really like how it fills really closely to all the edges and everything too. It looks really, really good. Again, never having used it before, I'm just really, really happy with it. And there's no way I would have been able to paint that on there and make it look that good. So that was definitely worth it. So you have that. And now talking about the lighting a little bit, you can see I've got in the rearmost, underneath of this turret here, I've got this jack that I mounted. I'm going to put a rechargeable lithium-ion battery inside this thing, down in the hull in the center section. And it'll be a 12-volt, so I'll be able to power the model up independently. That lithium-ion battery will last a long time. So whenever it goes dead, I can just turn the turret here, you know, so many degrees until we hit these slots and lift it right back off and just plug in, charge it up, and then, you know, put it back so it's completely concealed. And then there won't be any external switches on this because I'm going to use a remote control setup from Ralph at Tenna Controls, and I'll mount that board on the inside of the hull as well. So with a remote, I'll be able to turn everything on. The lighting that I'm going to do is basic hull lighting. We've got the portholes up here at the front where the officers area was, and then here at the stern where the crew area was. You know, the crew always got the short end of the stick. They're in the back of the ship by the noisy engines and all that. But probably a smoother ride back there, though, in rough seas. But so we're going to have those portholes lit. And then all the deck housing on the first layer of decking here up at the top, there's a bunch of portholes on all that. We'll light that up. And then up on into the superstructure and into the Admiral's Bridge. We'll do some lighting there. I'm going to do a bicolored LED in red and white. And with that control board, I'm going to have the ability to switch between red and white lighting in there. We'll do the red when it's simulating, you know, battle conditions like they used to do on those ships. And that'll be pretty neat. We can switch back and forth. And then it's got some searchlights up here at the top of the superstructure. We showed you that aftermarket searchlight kit that came with this. So I'm going to light one or two of those up. And I'm thinking about taking one of them and having it flashing some Morse code, like it's signaling Prince Eugen or something like that. You know, they would never use radio communication when they're in battle conditions unless they absolutely have to, because that would give away their position. So they would either use signal lights or they would use signal flags during the daytime to communicate about what they were going to do and how they were going to maneuver and everything. So interesting stuff. So we'll bring that lighting on up into the superstructure, and that'll be really cool. I'm also going to do some sound. I'm going to probably mount the speaker right inside this little hole right here facing up, and that'll kind of make it sound like it's coming right out of the middle of the ship. Might do some lines from the movie Sink the Bismarck and maybe some Kriegsmarine band music, or, you know, Kriegsmarine Navy music that'll be fitting for this ship. We'll cross that road when we get to it, but that should be pretty cool. So that's kind of the plan, guys. I'll turn this on really quick just to show you. I've got one strip of about 6 inches long of double density yellow or warm white LED tape here at the front, and the same thing here at the rear, and that's giving us the lighting of our portholes here. And now I don't have any lenses in this yet. I'm going to take some clear sheet styrene and glue that on from the back side, so we have like the recessed glass that you'd see in a porthole. And then same thing here at the rear. And I'm going to actually back paint some of that stuff and make it so that some of the portholes are dark, you know, not all lit up like this. And that'll be more realistic. Now keep in mind, these aren't supposed to be blazingly bright like they are on a starship or something like that. They're supposed to be very subtle, and they're in warm white. You know, they used incandescent lighting back in those days. They didn't have any fluorescent lights yet. So we want it to look just like that. And we'll continue that theme up onto the, you know, up onto the deck houses here and up into the bridge and everything. So that should look really, really cool. And, you know, I'm surprised more people don't like these models. I mean, we have portholes here and we have some other things, so maybe we'll give some people some ideas on that once we get this all done. There are a couple of red and green navigation lights on the flying bridge here at the front, too, that we'll probably add with some SMDs or something. So, you know, like I said, I'm trying to make like a kind of a museum display with this. There won't be any weathering on it at all. It's going to be perfectly clean. Same thing when we do the hood a little bit later. So anyway, guys, that's the battle plan for our Bismarck here. I hope you enjoyed seeing it. I'm not going to do a full build series on this, guys. I'm just going to come back with little tidbits once in a while. It's going to take me a long time to put this together. I'm just working on it in my spare time. I've got a lot of work here to do in the shop with my clients and everything, so whenever I get a little free time in the evening after I've worked on their stuff, I come out here and spend, you know, an hour or two working on this, and it'll take a while. But I'll show you any progress we make that's kind of significant. And there's a modeling friend of mine, Scott Hatchard, Aussie Trekkie, who's got a really nice, really detailed video build series he's doing on this right now, the same exact model. And he shows you step by step doing all the photo etch and all the modifications and all that. So if you want to get a really in-depth build series on that, you could follow that. I've been following it, and I want to say hats off to Scott for putting that up. It takes a lot of time. Each episode's like an hour long, and I think he's up to like part 90 right now. So it's a comprehensive guide for what you need to do on building this, especially if you're going to do all the super detailing on it and not build it right out of the box. So that'll be it, guys. You'll see some more of this as we go along. I'm going to be working now on the rear two turrets and start working towards the superstructure and get my way up. We're going to do all the photo etch railings and the rigging and everything. So this will be really, really an awesome model when it's done. I just, you know, something new for me. I haven't built a lot of ships. You know, the Arizona and the Enterprise are the only two I've ever built, and they were just basic builds. So I'm finding this fun and challenging. I hope you will follow along with it. Okay, guys, we're going to call this one a wrap. We'll be back maybe on the same day or shortly behind it with a final look at our Alien trilogy build series that I've been working on. I'm finally got all those kits complete. Everything came in. I got my sound systems in those. I got all my labels from Jerry at HD Model Works. So I'll have those to show you guys. I'm going to be taking those over to the Model Fiesta show here and entering those in their contest, and hopefully we score some, bring home some iron with them. The builds turn out pretty nice, so maybe we'll give those guys a run for their money over there. So wish me luck on that. Okay, guys, we're going to call this a wrap. Like I said, we'll talk to you soon, and until we do, like always, take care out there and happy modeling, everyone.